Hello, my name is Gareth Andrews from npower Business Solutions. Welcome to today's Intelligent Analytics demonstration. For today's agenda, we are going to go through data analysis, my sites, the data import and export, updating alarms, updating management reports, and finally my sites. First of all, I'm going to show you how to log into the system. You will have received an email from the Intelligent Analytics support team with a link and a username and password in there. Populate the username with your username. And same with the password. And select login. Once you've logged in, it will bring you to the home page, and this gives you a bit of information about the system itself, but more importantly, the contact details of the support team. So there's an email address and a telephone number there for you to contact with any problems you may have. And we shall start with the data analysis module. So in this module, I'm going to show you how to create a kilowatt hour energy report, use the stats, customize your report, export the data, and create an overlay chart. Some of the key features are to create your energy reports quickly, create more complicated reports that use granular data, statistical analysis, and annotations in under 5 minutes. Firstly, we need to select data analysis. In here, you will find two folder options, the option to open an existing report or create a new report. If you've created a report in the past and saved it, the report will be stored in Open Existing Report. If we just wanted to create a new report, which we do today, we're just going to select New Report. On either side of the page, on the left-hand side, you've got the Meters tab, and on the right-hand side, you've got the Options tab. The Meters tab is a list of your portfolio of sites, and the Options tab allows you to manipulate the report once created. In the Meters tab, I'm going to search for my site. So I'm going to use a search bar at the top, and I'm just going to populate it with my site name. You can search by the meter name or by the site name here. So I'm going to go into Omega Demo, and I'm going to select the electricity folder, and I'm going to select my meter. Once the meter is selected, if I move into the top right hand corner, you will see the green update button. Select Update. And this will bring the consumption back for the last 12 months at a monthly level. And by hovering over each of the bars, it gives me the value in kilowatt hours for that particular month. If I wanted to drill into a particular month, I would just double click on the month. And that takes me into the daily data. Just above the graph, you have the option to manipulate the date range and also the granularity you're looking at. So I'm going to move this down to half hourly level, which is the raw data. So I'm going to select raw. After every selection that's made, just ensure that you click the update button, otherwise it won't update. So we're now looking at the half hourly data for the month of February 19. Just below the graph, you can see the stats bar and the data table. The stats indicates the min, average and max for whatever period and granularity you're looking at, as well as the total energy used. If you wanted to highlight these values onto the report itself, you can do that by clicking on the average and clicking on the max, and it just puts a faint blue line across the back of the report. And to get rid of that, you just click on them again. Now this is what we call a static report. And a static report is a period in time that you've selected. We can also do a dynamic view. Now the dynamic view is a rolling period, so it could be previous week, previous month, previous year. And to change that, just select from the drop down dynamic, and we change that to the month. And the reason why you would set it as dynamic, as I said, is if you want to show the previous month's consumption. For example, the previous month is currently showing February's data. As we move into April, it will show March's data, and the report will automatically roll on if you wanted to save that. In the Options tab, you can go to Report Options, and you can change the report type, chart type, sorry, to a line or a scatter report if you wanted to do that. I'm going to put it to back to a bar, and I'm just going to highlight this area here because it seems quite high. Wednesday the 27th of February. And to do that, I'm going to go into the Options tab, and I'm going to go to Annotate. I'm going to put a box annotation on there, add that in. And all I'm going to do is drag and drop the mouse over the period that I'm worried about. And I'm just going to put a note in there, and I'm going to say why. I'm just going to highlight that in a different color and create the annotation. So now I want to share this with a colleague of mine. So I'm going to go back into the Options tab, and I'm going to select Visibility. And here I've got the option to select Visible to Others at Site, and that is to share it with your colleagues. As default, the report that you create will be private to you as a user. But if you wanted to share it, select this option here. And finally, I'm just going to save the report. And to do that, I just need to right click on the title. And I'm going to say demo. And then save the report. So that is my report now saved. If I wanted to export any of this information, I would select the export option, and I can export the graph as a picture in PNG or JPEG format, and the stats and the data in CSV. So if I wanted to export the data, just click on Data and select Export. What you'll notice is there's a little orange flag at the top here. When that goes green, it will mean that the report is run and we can access the data at a half-hourly level. If you wanted to view the full report of data in the actual system, you can just expand the data there and it will show you all the half-hourly data. Yeah, just wait for that to run. Once the flag goes green, if you select the file that you want to open, and we open it up, and it brings back the half-hourly data for that particular meter. If you wanted to compare the data one time period against another for the same meter, select the Options tab and come into Report Type, and we'll select Create an Overlay Report. From here you can select your meters, Just going to keep with the same one that's already selected. So start the overlay wizard. And you can do days right up to years. Now I'm going to compare the years. So I'm going to select years and just select next. My meter's already selected, but if you wanted to select another meter, just choose it from the meter tree. Select next again. Again, you've got the option for static or dynamic in here. I'm going to select dynamic, and I'm going to compare 2017 versus 2018. I'm going to select next. I'm going to give my report a name. And again, you've got the option to make it visible to others if you wish. If you don't select that option, it will be private to you. And here, you've got the option to manipulate the report. So if you wanted to put 2018 to a bar, do that, and you can manipulate the colors if you wish. And then we select finish. And it brings me back the consumption over the last 2 years. Now, bearing in mind, I put this on a rolling view. So once we get to 2020, it will show me 2018's data versus 2019's. And you can see the values split in the table, on the graph, and in the stats. So the next section I'm going to talk to you about is the My Sites module. And in this section, we will cover off how to update meter names, import and populate site alias classification and subclassification information. The classification refers to the type of building and its main use, for an example, school. The subclassification provides more detail, for an example, primary or secondary school. And then we're going to talk about how to import and populate meter and site square meter information, and also to create and update operational hours in the system. Once I've updated all this information, I will go back into the data analysis module just to show you how it all works on the graphs and reports. And the key features of this is to customize your meter and site details to ensure your data is more meaningful and relevant to you and other users. So first of all, we go into the My Sites module. You've got a number of options here. So in meter administration, you have 3 folder options. I'm going to show you how to update your meter name in the meter tree. So I'm going to go into meter alias admin. And for Omega demo, I'm going to search for it first of all. And I'm going to put in the name. Then the MPAN. And select save. Now that will be updated in the meter tree. You can also export this information into a CSV file if you've got a large portfolio and you hold this information on another system rather than manually going through and populating. Also, in the meter administration field, you've got the option to update your square meter data. So this is my portfolio here, and if I wanted to update the information here, I could put in the gross square meters 500 and the net as 300. What you will notice here is some of this information requires a start date, and that's just because it can be versioned. So you can change the square meter to be building if the school's expanded, for example. So I'm going to put a start date in of and select save. And you can see it's successfully updated. Back into my sites, and I'll move on to the site administration. And I'm going to go into site alias admin. So all these have got a generic name that we've uploaded into our system. But if you wanted something more meaningful to you, we could import that information into the system. So first of all, I'm going to go to Omega Demo, and I'm going to call this site and Whiskey Demo test site 2. Sierra Demo test site 3, and Charlie Demo test site 4. I'm going to save that information. That is how the site name will now be viewed in the meter tree and across the system. And I'm going to go back into site administration and show you how to update your site classification. So you can see there's some classifications in there. That doesn't matter. I'm going to change these for you now, show you how to change them. So Omega Demo, I'm just going to call schools, and I'm going to change the start date to 2016. Whiskey Demo, again, call schools. Sierra, I'm going to change that to schools. And what this will allow me to do is to filter on these particular sites in the meter tree if I just wanted that information. So I'm just going to update start date, and if we select save, you'll see that's successfully updated. So this will allow me to filter on the schools in the meter tree, then for particular sites. But what I want to do is I want to drill down even further, and that means going into the site subclassification. So back into site administration from my sites, and we go into the site subclassification. And again, you can see some have got a primary school. So I'm going to leave Charlie Demo as primary school. And I'm going to put Sierra as a primary school as well. Whiskey Demo is a secondary school. And so is Omega Demo. So I'll just put and just update the dates in line with what I've done in the classification. So we'll change that to 2016. Once I've done that, if I select save, every single site should have a start date in there. Just make you aware of that. So that's been successfully saved now. And then I'm going to show you finally in the My Sites module, I'm going to show you how to create an operational hours. And this allows you to report on your opening times and non-opening times. So I'm going to create a new one. So I'm going to select Add Operational Hours. I've just given the operational hours a name of test site 1 weekday operational hours. And I'm going to put the start time as 6 o'clock in the morning and the end time of 7 o'clock in the evening. Now I want it to be active, and I want it to be active for the weekdays, so I'm just going to select the weekdays from the days, but not Saturday and Sunday. Again, I want it to be active throughout the year, so I'm going to select all the months of the year. But if you are seasonal based, or you can change that in line, so you can have multiple operational hours. It requires a start date, but doesn't require an end date, so I'm going to put 01/01/2018 and select save. Now I will return back to the data analysis module and show you how all this works. So back into data analysis and new report. And on the left hand side, if we go into the meters tree, and first of all I'm going to select filters, and I'm going to filter on real only meters, the site classification as schools, and just utilities as electricity, because you can report on other utilities. So that's taken the number of meters that I've got access to down to 4. And if I wanted to show all them, I could do the select all option. I'm going to select all. And you'll notice as well that the names have changed in the meter tree. So before there were Omega Demo, Sierra Demo, Whiskey Demo, and Charlie Demo. They're now test type 1, 2, 3, and 4. And that's because we've updated the details. So I've selected select all, and I'm just going to do a sum up here. And in this box here, I'm just going to delete that out, and I'm going to select schools and select continue. Once I've made my selection, all I need to do is click update. And what this will show me is the individual schools of the bar chart, and then a line that indicates the total usage across the schools for the last 12 months. It may take a few seconds longer to run, but that's just because of the amount of data that we are looking at. So as you can see there, if you hover over it, it will give you the value in kilowatt hours for the individual schools, and then the total itself. And you've got that information in the stats below, and you've also got it in the table view, which is all exportable. And I'm just going to save this report, and I'm just going to call it schools. So I'm going to give it a name. And we're going to save the report. If I go back to data analysis and new report, I'm going to go back into the meters tree, and I'm going to select test site 1. And this is also where I updated the MPAN to give it the site name in front of it as well. So if I select the meter and select update, you can see as before it brings back the consumption for the last 12 months. If I wanted to go into February, and we will look at the 25th of February to the 1st of March. Let's just go into March. And we'll look at it at a raw level, select update. So that's the pattern for the previous week. And in the options tab now, I can go into report options, and I can go to report type, and I can create an operational hours report. So in here, I've got the one that we created earlier, test site 1, weekday opening hours. I click on there and create the operational hours report. You will see it will highlight the non-operational times in dark blue, with the light being when the site is operational. That's at a half-hourly level. If you wanted to look at it at a daily level, you can click update, and it will split it down into a stacked bar chart, the information there. At any point you can remove that, so you just come back in to options, report type, and remove operational hours. It will also break down the information below for you. And if we go back into the raw data and select update, you've also got another option to highlight that information. So we're going to highlight. You can highlight the weekends on there, or you can highlight your operational hours. So I'm going to come down here and I'm going to highlight the operational hours on there. It just puts a faint grey bar across at the back of that, and I'd be looking to highlight this data here. There's not quite the drop off, so you might want to look at when people are leaving the building. Should the operational hours be moved to 8 o'clock in the evening rather than 7, because people are still working in the building? If it's a school, for example, cleaners and caretakers might be in afterwards, and they might be doing some work in there. So that's something to consider as well. Now we're going to go through the data import and export module. Here you can export half-hourly data en masse from the system, large amounts of data, and you can also import meaningful data such as production values, targets, or benchmarks. Going into the data import export module, first of all I will show you how to export the data. And what I want to do is export the last year's worth of data for the schools. So I'm going to go into create a new export. And I've already got a list here that was stored previously, but I want to create a new meter list just for the schools. So I'm going to go into create new, and I'm going to call it schools. And using my filters, first of all, I only want the real meters. So I'm going to select real only. I want the classification to be schools, and I want the utility to be electricity. So that brings it down to 4 meters, but there's 8 channels, and that's because you can export the kilowatt hour data and the reactive data together. So I'm going to select all, and I'm not going to export the reactive data on here. I'm going to select next, and I'm going to select the data download format. Now the data download format is your traditional half-hourly format. The new format also gives you the unit type, but I'm going to use a traditional half-hourly format. So I'm going to select next, and I want it for all days of the week, so I'm going to leave that selected as default for me. And I'm going to select it static or dynamic. I'm going to select dynamic, and I'm going to say the previous month. I only want 1 month. Previous year, and I only want 1 year, but the data goes back further than that. So if you wanted the previous 3 years, you could expand on that and put that this duration to 2 or 3. I'm going to select next, and the user's email address will be there as standard, but you can also put an external recipient in there, or multiple external recipients, if the person that requires the file doesn't have access to the system. But I'm just going to select my name here and select next, and this just tells me a summary page here, tells me what I'm going to be exporting the data for and what I've called the meter list. And do I want to save the options as a template? Yes, I do. And that just means that you don't have to run through these steps again. You can create it from a template when you next come into the export module. And I'm going to call it 2018 We also recommend that you attach the email, and it's a compressed zip file. and that just means that if there's any restrictions on the email account, the amount of data you can send, it's zipped, so you can send more data. But if you select the attach export to email, the user will not have to come back into the system when they receive the file. So I'm just going to select finish here, and in the search bar at the top, I'm just going to go 20, just call this schools, and there you can see my export is running currently, it's pending, but I've asked it to run now. And when it's complete, this section here will be populated and the status will go to complete. I will receive an email, but you can also access the information from the system here. And if I go back to the import of data and select import data, and what I'm going to do here is I'm going to import occupancy levels at a school. And I'm going to create a new list. So I'm going to create new. And here I need to upload a CSV or Excel file with the numbers in. So if I just go to browse, and I've called my file students, and that's the number of students at the school. It's for the month of for the year of 2018, but for the individual months, I've broken it down. So if I select open, and is it for multiple sites or meters? No, it's not. So I'm going to leave that there, and I'm going to select next. My school, here's Omega demo, and here it will ask me to put the unit in. So I've got all these options here. I'm just going to put the unit in there. Utility type, what do I want the file, the folder name to be called? If it's the target, obviously you want to put it in the target folder. I'm going to call this production. I'm going to put this into a production folder. And select next. Now here, it's asking me where the data starts. So in what cell does the data start? So it's in B1. And do I want the values to be imported or accumulating? No, I don't. I want them to be individual values. That just means it'll roll over and accumulate the data. I just want it to be an actual value, so I'm going to select no. And then it's asking me for the first cell that contains the date, and that is cell A1. Now it's asking me if the data runs down or across the page. It runs down, and also does it contain a time? It doesn't contain a time because it's at a monthly level. You can import this data from yearly right down to half hourly. So if it was a half hourly file and it was in the same cell, you would select yes because it contains the time in there. If the time was different to the date, then you'd say no, and you'd put the first cell where the time starts. So I'm just going to click next. And do I want to save these options as a template? Yes, I do. And give it a name, and then select finish. And as you can see, I've submitted the data. It will load into the system. So this may take up to 5 minutes depending on how much data you're going to import. Once it's complete, I will go back into the data analysis and show you how you can overlay that information. You can have up to 5 production targets or benchmarks per site. So if you wanted occupancy levels, then you wanted square meter information, you can have up to 5 on here per site. and you can upload it. So I've just uploaded the data for 2018 at a monthly level. Once you get that information, if you get that monthly for 2019, you might already want to put January and February's information into the system. Just wait for that to refresh. And if I come back to data analysis and new report, see if that's created. So in test site 1, got the production, and there the information is here. So it's called students. If I go into the electricity folder again and we select the meter for 2018, so we'll do Jan 2018 to December 2018. Select update. You can see that's the consumption data. If I go back into the meter tree and I want to add students, select update, you can see there's another axis on the right hand side that indicates the student information. So if I right click on one of the student bars, select series option, you might want to change that to a line chart just to show the information. So from February, March, you can see the student numbers are going up, and this is how you can tell. Using the virtual meter field, we can also create a per meter. So if I go back to my sites, I'll link in the new tab, come into here, and we'll go to virtual meters and select new virtual meter, and we'll call this test site 1. And I want to put this into a real site folder, which is maybe demo. Select the utility type, so where do we want it? I'm going to put this in the electricity folder. And what I'm going to do here is in test site 1, I'm going to click on the meter, and I'm going to normalize that information by the students. Here you can also multiply sites together, sum them up if you wanted all the schools together, but I'm just normalizing it. So what is the kilowatt hour usage per student? So I'm going to select save, and that's now built. So if I go back to data analysis, select new report, meters, I'm going to test site 1, electricity, and you can see there's a meter called test site 1 per student. So if I click on there and select, let's do to December 18, select update. At a monthly level, you can see in September 2018 we used 511 kilowatt hours, just over, per student. It's quite a lot, really. But you can see that information there. So you can use it in 2 different areas. You can overlay the report, or you can use it to normalize that information. So now we move on to the alarms module. And here I'm going to show you how to set up a new alarm, edit an alarm, and then view the alarms in the report. The key features here are to create, edit, and view alarms that notify you of consumption changes via your chosen channel. So first of all, we need to select the alarms module. And to create a new alarm, firstly we need to select new alarm. And I'm going to show you how to create a threshold alarm here. You've also got the option to create a zero consumption alarm, which will notify you when the channel has missing data. But from the drop down, we're going to select threshold alarm, and I'm going to select next. The threshold alarm notifies you if you've breached a certain tolerance. And I'm going to choose test site 1. Okay. And I'm going to select that meter. Now I'm going to set a daily alarm, and I'm going to set a value 500 kilowatt hours, and I want to be notified if it goes above that value. So in the value of, I'm just going to populate with 500, and I'm going to say notify me if it goes above that value. And as I said, it's going to be a daily alarm, but you can do week and month and real time. The real time is a half-hourly values. I'm going to select day, and I want to be notified on the trigger of sun. So that will tell me when the alarm reached its tolerance. I want the alarm to be active, and I want it to be active Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday and Sunday. But again, if you wanted to set a weekday alarm, you might want to remove the Saturday and Sunday. I'm going to leave the start date as today up here, but you can change that. If you're starting a project, you might want to put it from that project start date just to monitor it from there. I'm going to leave it as today's date. The start and end time, I'm going to leave it as a 24-hour period because it's a daily alarm. But if you wanted to, you could restrict that, and you could put it to particular hours of the day on the alarm. So I'm just going to select next. You can have as many recipients for the alarm here as you like, and the recipient doesn't have to have access to the system, but they will receive notification if they breach that tolerance. I'm just going to select next. I'm going to give my alarm a name, and this just notifies me what meter it's on and how I'm going to be notified. Over here I've got two options. As I was saying, if you're going to create a zero consumption alarm across your portfolio, you'd want to create a grouped alarm, because then that would just send you one email but notify you of the sites where you have an issue. But because I've only selected the 1 meter here, I'm going to create an individual alarm. I just search for the alarm. That is my alarm now. And in here, you've got the details. You've got the value. You've got it daily. Trigger on some, true. If you hover over it, it will tell you where the alarm's going and the meter that it's on there. Now, coming back to alarms. To edit an alarm, you just come in here. And if I go into test, search for test site 1 again. My alarm here, by clicking on the box there, in the actions, at any point I can delete the alarm or I can set it as inactive. So you might want to set the alarm as inactive if you know you've got a lot of activity going on and you know you're going to breach 500 kilowatt hours daily for a time period. You might want to set it as inactive. Then when the increased activity is finished, you might want to turn it back on again. Or just thinking of schools, for an example, in 6-week holidays, if you know the school's not going to be in use or limited use, then you might want to set it as inactive for that period and then turn it back on in September. You've also got the option to delete the alarm, but the inactive option just means that you don't have to delete it and reset it all back up. Again, it could be seasonal as well, so you could have different alarms for different time periods during the year that you turn on the alarm and look at that. I'll also show you how to view your alarm in a report type. So if I go into view alert notifications, this here tells me the alarm name, demonstration alarm, the number of times it's triggered, and the last time it triggered, and the meter that's associated with that. So if I wanted to view that in a report, I'm just going to demonstration alarm, and this gives me all the views of when it's triggered. So there's 88 views in there. I'm going to go into the latest, which was April last year, view the meter. So the blue line there indicates the consumption. The red dotted line indicates the actual benchmark, the tolerance, and the red bars indicate when that was breached, when there was a breach to that. So you can see through April last year there was quite a few breaches, and it just indicates that to you. And if you hover over it, it gives you the value the alarm there. But in total on there was 88 breaches across 3 years at a daily level. And you can see where it's breached in the report. It always gives you the monthly view. So if you go into a particular day, it might give you 3 or 4, or in this case 7 or 8 breaches in the graph, and then you can export that obviously as a PNG or JPEG. The next module I'm going to talk to you about is management reports. In here, I'm going to show you how to manage your user dashboard, view the npower reports, and save a report as favorite. So you can create, view, and manage your own dashboard, access saved reports, and analyze technical reports designed by npower Business Solutions. So if we go into the management reports module, and first of all, I'm going to go into the npower reports. Now, these are a number of reports that we have created based on customer feedback. They work in exactly the same way as a kilowatt hour consumption report does in the data analysis module. But if I was to show you a report, it's just different units of measure. So I'm going to show you the KVA report, and I'm going to select new report. So again, as I was saying, they work in exactly the same way as a report in the data analysis module. So if I go into meters and test site 1 and electricity, and pick my meter and then select update. So it brings me back the consumption for the last 12 months. But this is showing me KVA values. So the red line indicates the actual KVA that's been used at site against the black line, which is what's available to me. Now this is set by the DNO, not by npower, but you don't want to breach that value because you may incur charges. You can view this data again from a year right down to the half-hourly level, and by hovering over each individual value, it gives you the data. Again, below you've got the stats. So the available here is 333, and the maximum it's used over the last 12 months is 266.8. You can apply that to the graph as well by clicking on the max, indicates that, and it was July 2018. You can see that. If you wanted to look at a particular month, we can go into the day and we can select, let's do March 20, let's do July in fact. So you can see how close it came to breaching there. I'm going to save this report. So again, right click on there, and I'm going to call this test site. Continue off there and save the report. And if I come back to management reports and back into npower reports, so you've also got access to the DUOS report, day-night split, and STOD report in there. So the DUOS report splits your consumption down into the red, amber, and green time bands that are set by the DNO. npower update this every April on the back of the DNO reviewing it in April. Also, you've got the day-night split, which splits your consumption down into day, night, and weekend. The STOD report is your individual tariff that npower hold and reload into the system, and can be displayed there. So also in management reports, you have access to user dashboards, and this is where you can come to add your reports to the dashboard. So as default, you get 4 blank charts on there, and it's entirely up to you what charts and reports you put onto your dashboard. I'm going to add the reports that we've created today. So to add a report, all you need to do is click on the plus sign in the middle of the report, and I'm just going to look at what we've created today. So in the top left-hand corner, I'm going to put the demo half-hourly kilowatt-hour report. I'm going to click on there, and then I'm just going to select add in the bottom corner. And that is the first report that we created. In the top right-hand corner, I'm going to select the schools report and select add. And in the bottom left-hand corner, I'm going to select the previous year versus 2 years ago and select add. And then I'm going to add the KVA in the bottom right hand corner. Just to make you aware here, this lets you know if it's a static or dynamic report. This lets you know if you've shared it with other people. This lets you know if it's got notes on there, and this lets you know if you've saved it as a favorite report. And the play button indicates the number of times that the report has been run. So I'm just going to select add there. Now you can have up to 5 charts on your dashboard, but you can have unlimited amounts of pages. So if you wanted different page for different sites or different schools, for example, you could have that, and we can add pages here. So if you just click add, and you can order it. So where would you like to see it? So if you clicked on, want to add it to a page, the second page, and the number of charts. I'm just going to put 1 on the second and select add. You can make this full screen if you wanted to display it for display purposes. And you can also make it your home page. You can also delete the page. So I'm just going to click delete the page and disassociate all the charts on there. Click OK, and it'll take me back to the first page. If you click the star there, it will set it as your home page. So when you log in, rather than seeing the information about the team and the system, it will just bring you here. As you can see, some of these are dynamic and some of these are static. But it gives you the information there. Now you can't edit from here, but if you do select edit, it will take you back into the data analysis module to update. And what I want to do is I want to save this as a favorite report. So I'm just going to click the love heart in the top left hand corner and then select save. Once that report is saved, we can go back to management reports and we go to favorite reports. And in here you can see that the report has now been added to your favorite list. You've also got the option for most run here. So any reports that you have as your favorites, it can be viewed here as well. You can also view that in the table view if you wanted to look at the data there. Finally, in the data analysis module, if you go to open existing reports, All the reports that we've created today will be stored in here. So you can see the different reports that we've stored. And at any point you can put an action on there. So that report is currently visible to others. If you select it from here and you select actions, and you can make private. So you want to come in here and make that private, click OK. So only I can see that now. So you can see that is no longer viewed as public. Thank you very much for listening today. And if you have any queries, please contact YPO's energy team at energy@ypo.co.uk.